Good temper. Push it. Ah.
My name is Austin Stevens.
Nearly lost it, Beta. Nearly lost it.
I've spent my entire life photographing dangerous animals.
Oh, look at that. I don't want to get into this water.
This time, I'm after one of the biggest snakes in America.
I just can't do this anymore.
This is Miami, Florida. I've come here in pursuit of an alien invader. Just miles from here, in the famous Florida Everglades, a giant intruder is taking over.
When you think about the top predator in the Florida Everglades, you automatically think about the American alligator. However, there might be a new predator in town.
A predator capable of swallowing an entire alligator, whole. A predator that can grow longer than this boat. A predator that by rights shouldn't even be here.
A giant Burmese python, one of the biggest snakes in the world, has been introduced into this area by the pet trade. Some of these snakes have escaped, others have been released into the wild, and they're growing in numbers.
Dumped by pet owners when they grow too big to keep, Burmese pythons are thriving in the Florida Everglades. They can grow up to 25 feet long, and they are one of the only snakes that can and do eat human beings. Once it grabs hold, a python wraps around its victim's body, tightening its coils until the prey suffocates. Then it swallows it whole. This silent eating machine has moved straight to the top of the Everglades food chain.
I'm on a mission to find a Burmese python. I want to see exactly how they are flourishing here in the Florida Everglades, what they're eating and how they're surviving. I'd also like to photograph this great predator.
To give myself the best chance of finding a Burmese python, I'm heading for an area that's close enough to the city for animals to have been released, but deep enough into the wilderness to suit them. An area covering 4,000 square miles of swamp and forest. Places perfect for pythons. But it's not just 20-foot snakes I need to worry about. This whole area is dominated by a second deadly predator, and it's another killer reptile. The American alligator. These giant lizards can grow 16 feet long and weigh up to 1,000 pounds. And they're every bit as dangerous as the python. So you'd think the last thing I'd want to do is get closer to the water.
As comfortable as it is, this boat is just too big and noisy to take further into the Everglades. Snakes I'm looking for will easily be spooked by it. I'm going to do the rest of my journey in the canoe.
It's not just that I need to be able to creep up on a python. Believe it or not, this is actually the dry season, so the waterways are shallow.
There's animal life everywhere. You can hear the birds all the time. There's insects wherever you look, and every now and then you see a snake or a lizard.
These saltwater mangroves are the outer limit of the python's range here in Florida, but there's plenty for them to feed on. And it's not long before I hear something that would be of definite interest to a python.
at this, it's a possum. Wow. Look at his nose. You see all the scratches on his nose? This is so typical of an animal with a long snout because they're always sticking their snouts into places, and they do get into fights with other possums. So they get scratched on the nose and they get cuts and wounded. The older they get, the more scar-faced they usually are. And look at his tail. He's actually got a prehensile tail which helps him for climbing, and it's a good example here. He's just hanging on here. He's balancing on that branch, and he's got his tail hooked around here, just making sure he doesn't tip over the edge. Whoa. He's not running away from me, but he's just standing on guard, just making sure I don't come too close. Yeah, okay, go. Ooh. What a beautiful boy. This is actually the only marsupial found in North America, which means that the female actually raises her young in a pouch on her tummy. And this is potential food for the Burmese python, no question about it. Warm-blooded, furry animal like this, definitely python food. Keep away from Burmese pythons.
It's no wonder the python is thriving here. They've adapted well to the local food supply. And the climate is hot and humid, just like it is back in Asia.
The success of the Burmese python in the Florida Everglades has taken everyone by surprise. It's estimated there are tens of thousands of these snakes. The situation has become so serious, even if I find one, I'm not allowed to return it to the wild.
Any exotic snakes found here in the Everglades must be handed in. They are used to help with research. But I'm working with a reptile sanctuary that will give any snakes I find a good home.
This waterway is taking me further inland, away from the coastal mangroves. It's getting very shallow, still dry season stuff over here. Lots of mosquitoes, there's mosquitoes everywhere. Spiders as well.
I'm heading for the freshwater swamps of the North Everglades. That's where I'm going to concentrate my python search. But some serious challenges lie in wait for me there. It's back to paddling for me in search of my Burmese python. Heading north, I make it through the mangroves and arrive on the edge of a massive sawgrass marsh. Sawgrass is one of the oldest green plants on Earth, and it gives the Everglades its nickname, the River of Grass, because this whole area is actually a slow-running river, moving at a rate of just half a mile a day. I'm paddling against the flow, upriver, and into the heart of the Everglades. That's where I hope to find a python.
Sawgrass seems to be endless. Just goes on and on. Tough stuff. It gets its name from the serrated edges. See if I can actually get a sample here. If you handle it correctly, you can actually work with it. Serrated edges go that way. So if you pull your hands down that way, it can cut you. Can cut through flesh, cut through cloth. You've got to be very careful when you work with this stuff. You can't just grab it and go. Pretty dangerous. And more than that, it's so thick over here, there can be gators hiding anywhere here. They move through the sawgrass, they negotiate it, and they have holes here all over the place. Pretty dangerous area, this. It's pretty tough going through the sawgrass. If I stick to the channels, I've got a chance. Some of it's impenetrable, but over here I can at least pole my way through. The one advantage is it keeps the wind away from me a little bit. Temperature inside the sawgrass here is quite a bit higher than it is outside.